I got my Goonies t-shirt on here, and this is a response to the soundtrack tag that was started by Beth at B-Side Records. She had created a video in this tag like at the beginning of the month. I am just getting around to it now, but I definitely wanted to put up a quick response. So I'm just gonna jump right in and quickly share my choices for the tag. So the first question was, first soundtrack you ever bought. So the first one I ever bought with my own money was Prince and the Revolution, Purple Rain. Iconic artist, iconic album. I originally bought this on cassette, but of course later on I picked it up on LP. Very excited that this was my first soundtrack. It is amazing. I played it all the time, and if you ever met my mother, she would definitely tell you that. Number two, newest soundtrack in your collection. So I just picked this up over the weekend, the last weekend, and that would be Light of Day. And this movie came out late 80s, 88, 87. Michael J. Fox and of course Joan Jett, and her band in the movie was the Barbusters. An amazing soundtrack, and I haven't spun it yet because I haven't cleaned it yet, but I'm looking forward to spinning it, and so excited to find this. This was also a promo copy, and I picked it up for relatively cheap, so I'm excited about adding this to my collection. Number three, soundtrack you listen to the most. This should be no surprise to anybody that watches my channel. I am a total 80s girl, teen years in the 80s, and that would be the Pretty in Pink soundtrack. This is the reissue on pink vinyl, which I'm so happy that I was able to add. And of course, packed full of great songs, artists. The Smiths are on here, OMG, Echo and the Bunnymen, Susanna Vega and Joe Jackson, New Order. Just an amazing soundtrack, amazing movie. Number four is your favorite composer. So I don't necessarily have a favorite composer, but a soundtrack that I really love and a movie I adore would be Breakfast at Tiffany's, and the composer was Henry Mancini. Of course, Moon River, such an iconic song. I love it, so beautiful. But in general, the score on this is amazing. I really love this. Breakfast at Tiffany's, Henry Mancini. So number five, favorite instrumental score. This was a no-brainer for me. Automatically, I went to this, and this would be Bruce Brown's The Endless Summer, and the soundtrack by the Sandals. And great instrumental surf music on here. Amazing instrumental. So this would be my choice for favorite instrumental score. Number six, awesome movie, horrible soundtrack. It's probably up to debate, but for me, I'm saying I don't have any horrible soundtracks in my collection. So instead of going with awesome movie, horrible soundtrack, I went with awesome soundtrack, but I have never seen the movie. Sorry, Beth, I'm kind of changing this question, but so an awesome soundtrack, I've never seen the movie, would be Vision Quest. Vision Quest. And I know it's about a wrestler, an older woman, but I have never seen the movie, but this is great. Of course, Red Rider, Dio, Madonna, Style Council, Journey, John Waite, Foreigner, Madonna. There is no bad songs on here. This is an amazing soundtrack. If you love the 80s and you don't own this album, you can pick it up for cheap, like under $5, Vision Quest. So, number 7 is a soundtrack better than the movie. So for me, I think this is a great soundtrack. The movie, kind of so-so. This came out probably 1989, 90. I don't own the LP. I think there was an LP issue, press for this, but I do have this CD. And great soundtrack. There's a great cover on here, Walk on the Wild Side, that's done by Edie Brickell and the New Bohemians. Great cover. The soundtrack also has Flesh for Lulu, Ultraviolets. It has Bob Dylan's People Get Ready, Canned Heat, On the Road Again. The beautiful, I love this. I honestly probably bought the soundtrack just for this song back in the day. And It's Coming Back to Me by Jefferson Airplane. Golly, it's such a wonderful, powerful song. Love that song. Beautiful. Jimi Hendrix is also on here, Steppenwolf. An amazing soundtrack, Flashback. And that would be my choice for soundtrack better than the movie. So number 8 is a song by a favorite artist or band on a soundtrack. So that would be the Lost Boys soundtrack, and the song that I would choose are Echo and the Bunnymen's cover of People Are Strange. Oh my goodness, they like nailed that cover. It is awesome. Love it, love it. Number 9, share a soundtrack everyone should own. So on Best Tag, her choice was Forrest Gump, which is an amazing soundtrack. I totally agree with that answer. But another soundtrack that really captures an era in time would be the Big Chill soundtrack. And this is an amazing soundtrack, packed full of hits. Of course, it has I Heard It Through the Grapevine, Marvin Gaye, Joy to the World, Three Dog Night. It has The Temptations, The Rascals. It has Tell Him by the Exciters, which is awesome girl group stuff there. And wonderful soundtrack. Number 10, soundtrack grails. So, of course, there is a few soundtracks that I would love to have in my collection. I do not have the Goonies soundtrack. I love the Goonies movie. Don't have the soundtrack. Don't have the soundtrack for Weird Science. That was another amazing 80s movie. I would love to have the soundtrack to Say Anything. Such an amazing movie. Love this. Oh my gosh. Yeah. John Cusack with the boombox. Peter Gabriel. Ugh, such amazing stuff. But my grail, my definitely number 1 grail for soundtracks would be the soundtrack to Valley Girl. I would love to have the soundtrack to this someday. Maybe they'll reissue the soundtrack. The soundtrack was initially released with very limited pressings, and I believe it was just European. But such an amazing soundtrack. The Plimsolls are on the soundtrack. Josie Cotton, the Sparks, some amazing bands on there. So Valley Girl would be my soundtrack grail. That's a soundtrack tag. Please check out the original thread with Beth at B-Side Records. And thank you for watching. I hope you guys all have a great week, and I will see you on the flip side.